This podcast is brought to you by Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce. A great sauce starts with the best ingredients. Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is that great sauce. Inspired by our founder's original recipe, Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is made with delicious ingredients, including vine-ripened tomatoes, chopped onions, garlic, and olive oil, simmered together for the authentic taste you and your family will want to come back to. For recipes, sauces, and mealtime inspiration, visit ragu.com.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get the exclusive 77-inch Husky welded I-beam steel shelving for just $179. It now holds up to 10,000 pounds. Plus, it's the only steel shelving with a full lifetime warranty. Find more Husky steel shelving online at homedepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. Claim based on 2,500 pounds per shelf when evenly distributed. See store for details.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for downloading Beer Nuts for free on iTunes or from ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate Beer Nuts 5 stars on iTunes and help to tell others about Beer Nuts by leaving a comment. Thank you for following Beer Nuts on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast and on Instagram at Beer Nuts Podcast. Please like the Beer Nuts Podcast on Facebook to like and share Beer Nuts. If you'd like to donate to Beer Nuts, you can click on the PayPal button at ChristopherMedia.net. If you use Amazon.com, please click and bookmark the Amazon link at ChristopherMedia.net. It will not cost you any extra money, and you will help to support Beer Nuts. If you're looking to launch your own website, please click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media uses HostGator to host all of the shows produced by the Christopher Media Network. When you click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net and sign up for HostGator, you are helping to support Beer Nuts. TheBroBasket.com. Guys are tired of all those boring socks and ties. BroBasket is the answer to the age-old question, what do I get a guy? We know that choosing the perfect gift for a man is a difficult task, but not anymore. TheBroBasket.com is here to help. We all know men are hard to shop for, but what do guys actually like? Their favorite alcohol, that's what. It could be craft beer, wine, whiskey, scotch, or tequila. TheBroBasket.com will put it in a gift basket full of their favorite gear and goodies. You can customize your own BroBasket or choose from a variety of different BroBaskets, like the Ultimate Import Sampler, the Jack and Coke gift set, or the Junior Executive gift basket. Boozeless but still cool BroBaskets are also available. TheBroBasket.com gives you many shipping options to choose from, including rush delivery and Saturdays. 21 and over, please. State and local laws apply. Beer, wine, and liquor are not available for shipping in all states. You can help to support Christopher Media by clicking through the BroBasket.com banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Alcohol gift baskets. What men really want. Men used to be hard to shop for. TheBroBasket.com.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Welcome to Beer Nuts number 66. My name is Chris. With me from MichiganBeerGuide.com is JR.
In the house.
Dugout is with us.
Hello, everyone.
Ross from North Carolina joining us once again.
Glad to be back.
Uncle Pete, he's here in spirit. But Ross back on the program because today we're focusing again on the Wicked Weed Brewery. But how do we put this? Do we call this a kind of a dark cloud?
This is the Wicked Weed
sad day.
Wake. This is the Wicked Weed Wake episode because in light of recent developments and the purchase of Wicked Weed, shockingly by Anheuser-Busch InBev, as many refer to as the Evil Empire. We have just decided to drink up some of the Wicked Weed treasures. They're excellent beers, that's not in question, and most of us have these because of Russ, so thank you, Russ, for being kind enough to ship some up north to us up here in Michigan. But this is our wake because a lot of people in the craft beer world are turning away from Wicked Weed because of the buyout, and it's a story that many of our listeners are probably already aware of, but we'll be able to drink up the last of our Wicked Weed and have Ross explain kind of how the local feeling is, sentiment down in the area in North Carolina. So let's get this show kicked off. Everybody's thirsty, so crack open a cold one, and Ross, I think you have a good quote for us to lead today's show off with, so So let it begin, the Wicked Weed Wake.
Okay, so the quote this week is from Dogfish Head owner Sam Calgione, and it's, "I'd never shit on somebody's decision to sell out."
Well, until now.
Yeah.
That's interesting because that quote's got a bit of age on it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's from 2015.
Okay, because there was some new quotes from Sam just came out in the last few days that are a little different than that. But we'll get to that in the show because that's a part of the show too. It's not just the death of Wicked Weed. It's about what's happening around the country to people's beloved craft breweries, independently owned, and being snapped up by a big conglomeration of money machine, so to speak. So, but yeah, let's get right to it. Who has the first honors here? I think it's you, Christopher, right?
I do, and I've already cracked it. I've already been enjoying it. I have the Tyrant Double Red India Pale Ale. All right, we're starting big and finishing big. We'll get to my other one later, but I've already had a sip of this. I mean, this is. I'm already kind of tearing up. Just finding out about Wicked Weed. Now they're going away. Well, I mean, they're not going away, but I mean,
They're no longer in vogue.
Well, that too, and it just probably, I don't think the story of founders plays out too often where the quality will stay where it should, especially with, I guess, who bought them. I'm not very encouraged, but and of course, I'm in a paper glass because I'm on the road here. This beer has gone coast to coast, by the way. This beer's got some frequent flyer values on it. But looking at it, it's kind of got somewhere in between copper and a dark brown color on this. I mean, it is, I call it a double red India Pale Ale. The aroma, I mean, you're getting your citrus, you're getting a little bit of sweetness in there too, but then you taste it kind of right in the middle on the mouthfeel, maybe head more towards the lighter side of things, and it's on the palate. You're getting, I mean, the florals in the aroma. It's on the palate, maybe a tiny bit citrusy, and then too, I guess maybe because of the, I believe there's a little extra malt in it because it's a red ale, correct, guys? There's some kind of, there's a little bit of sweetness toning it down right at the end for you.
Yeah, I believe it's an Imperial Red, isn't it? Imperial Red IPA.
Well, yeah, that's going to have darker malt. You're going to get some more roasted character, not to the point of a stout, somewhere in the middle of it.
Yeah, this is pretty good. And if you're not into bitter, this might not be the beer for you. I mean, because it's not so much bitter. I mean, just you're getting the hops in this beer. I mean, it's an India, it's an IPA style. So, I mean, that's part of the style. But this is delicious. I'm going to take my time. Maybe not so much, but finishing this bottle of Tyrant Double Red India Pale Ale from Wicked Weed. So who's next?
I believe we have Dugout going next.
Well, all right. So beer I have in front of me is called Lost Toys, blend number 2, select barrel aged sour stout. So it's 6.4% alcohol, and I'm going to assume this is a blend because of what's written on the side of the bottle. It says, "We remember our lost toys, once beloved, then outgrown, but never forgotten. These playthings lay collecting dust in the corners of our minds. We are reclaiming the relics of our past and putting them to new use. Our barrel collection contains treasures from across the world. We are combining these rare beauties to create an entirely new alchemy." So,
yeah, what
could that mean?
That?
I mean, they scooped up different beers and then just kind of blended them and re-yeasted them and put together I don't know.
Yeah, what happened was they had a bunch of different small batch things that they did, and they didn't have enough to bottle. So they just poured it all together so they had enough to bottle. I mean, that's the short story.
Okay, so, brilliant. Great idea. I mean, I think brewers tend to be some of the most sort of ingenious people with ideas, very creative bunch, and figure out ways to get things done that nobody ever thinks of. But, anyways, get back to the beer here. It pours kind of a very reddish color, almost purple, a little bit of a cream-colored head. And it dissipates pretty quickly, but as you do a little swirl on the glass, it gets recreated, and then you get some lacing on the side of the glass. So the smell of it is, you get sort of a vinegar and maybe a bit of tart fruit, cranberries. I mean, you know this is going to be a tart beer just from the smell of it. It almost smells acidic. And the taste is, oh boy. This has some funk to it, and it makes you pucker up a bit. It sucks your cheek inside of your mouth a little bit. Very tart, maybe a bit of, like, I don't know, maybe some cherry flavor. Not raspberry, because that would kind of revile me, but yeah, maybe some cherry flavor, tart cherries. It finishes pretty quick, so pretty dry in the finish. Body is very, I think the tart takes over the body, so you don't even feel like you're drinking because your mouth just sort of puckers a bit, and down it goes. I think it's really a good beer. It's nighttime here right now. Typically, this is the kind of beer I'd love to have on a hot summer day, 90 degrees, and I'm sitting out in the sun and kicking back, listening to music. This would be great. This is definitely a porch sipper for me. Whatever they did to make this beer up, I think they got a winner on their hands. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be unrecreatable. They literally had all these when they did Toys 1 and Toys 2. They just they literally just didn't want to put that stuff on tap at the brewery. They wanted to bottle it and get it out, so they blended what they had until they had enough to bottle. And it was all various small batch things that they put together. So it seems very unlucky that they'll ever be able to recreate the Lost Toys series. I mean, they could make more that are similar themed, but all of it was like blends of lots of small little batch, one-off things that they were experimenting with. So it's, yeah, that's a one and done.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to have this beer. I mean, I know that I said my preference would be, sit outside in hot weather, but it's high quality, that's for sure. And I got a glass of water to chase, which helps me with sour beers because sometimes the acid can be a bit too much for me. But nice cold sips of water followed behind, and then start all over again. That's my way to drink some heavy sours. So this beer is not for like I guess the faint of heart type sour drinker. If you're a newbie, this might revile you. I mean, it's definitely tart and definitely funky.
Well, that's not surprising. Wicked Weed's known for their funky sours. And if anybody else doesn't have any comments on the Lost Toys, anybody?
Well, the other comment is I don't know if you guys discussed this in the past. I didn't catch up on it on every episode. But their head sour guy moved to Brewdog in March, right?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So they've people have been wondering what effect that was going to have and things, and then so they lost their Kilcullen was kind of their wizard of making sours, and then within 2 months of him leaving, you find out they sold out. So everybody's trying to figure out what that actually meant and what the order of operations was there and in terms of decisions, but lots of conspiracy theories, I guess. But yeah, so they lost their mastermind, I guess, and then 2 months later they sold out to AB InBev. So yeah.
So what's the mood down there as far as, are people still buying Wicked Weed, or is there a big backlash? Don't carry their products, don't buy their stuff, or is there a mixture of some people don't care as long as the beer is good?
It's a mixture. I would say most of the bottle shops and obviously if you follow the news, most of the breweries had something to say. There were plenty of Facebook posts and website posts of breweries. Some of them were going pretty far. I think Black Project was the one that told Wicked Weed not to put their name on anything. They were in the process of doing some collabs, and they basically told Wicked Weed, do whatever you want to it, but don't put our name on it if you're going to release it. And some of the others immediately, Jester King and a few others immediately said they wouldn't be working with them anymore. The mood here was pretty depressed the first couple days, just kind of shock and awe. What does it really mean? And how much was the sale? Was it a small percentage? Was it the whole thing? And but most of the bottle shops had one of two reactions: either cut it out completely or cut way back. Obviously, they had stock of things that they'd already bought. Some owners felt different than others, obviously, but of the ones I frequent, everybody's cut back to some extent, and two of them cut it out completely. So Wicked Weed became dead. They still got some stock that they're selling out. They didn't go pour it out or anything, but they're not buying anymore, and some others have cut way back. So, but the big boys are still going to carry it. It's still going to be Total Wine, and other places are still going to carry it. But the small independent places have had their say by most of them cutting back to some extent, if not completely.
So they'll lose a lot of business on the local independent shelves, but they'll probably more than make that up in the chain business that AB will open up to them.
Oh, sure, yeah. And we know that AB invested all that money up in expanding the New England brewery. I guess they're pumping a lot of money into that one so that they can crank up production up there. I guess the more conspiracy theory is they're going to use that to push out more Wicked Weed product up there, or at least product with a Wicked Weed name on it. I don't know if they're going to do it the same way they did with Goose Island, where they try to figure out how to mass produce some of the staples, if they're going to, Pernicious and Freak of Nature and stuff like that are their big staple sellers versus the sours. I don't know what their plans are, but it seems to me like they're going to have a hard time mass producing the stuff that made Wicked Weed good, right? All of that stuff was care and feeding of not really large batches of beer to make good beer. So it'll be interesting to see how they scale up production of the stuff that actually made Wicked Weed famous.
All right. Well, sounds like Chris, you're going to need to play a clip of from The Godfather. Fredo is the Wicked Weed of the beer world. Dead to me. So I'm going to keep things rolling here. I've been sipping on a Wicked Weed beer that I've been waiting to try. It's from the Canvas series. It's called Oaxacan Tequila Barrel Aged Smoked Sour Ale with grapefruit and lime zest. It's 8.6% ABV, and I'm going to take a sip now. This pour is amber. It's an amber. You can see through it, but it's like a kind of a light brown copper. Like a champagne cocktail. I think it was inspired by the Negroni, which is a drink made, I believe, with gin and Campari. Really, really nice. From the get-go, you get the grapefruit jumps out, and it tastes like almost like a limeade, like a sour lime, tart lime, and a little bit of other fruit, maybe berries or cherries. Very acetic, but it's very clean. Again, and the bubbles are really coming up in this. Real tiny bubbles, very, very effervescent. Really nice mouthfeel, clean finish. I'm trying to find the tequila, and it's barely there, I can tell. There's supposed to be some smokiness in there, and I'm not really getting that. I'm looking for the smoke malts and not finding them, but it's very complex. But it finishes clean. It got a nice clean mouthfeel, effervescent. For somebody like me who sours are still hit or miss for me, I'm still kind of finding my way into the sours, and this is one that I'm really enjoying, and it gets a thumbs up for me. It's a shame that I'll never be able to get it again, or I won't have the desire to get it again. But I'll read from the label. Oaxacan begins as an amber sour ale brewed with smoked malts. It's then laid to rest in organic blue agave tequila barrels with grapefruit and lime zest. When Oaxacan reaches its peak of complexity, it's blended onto additional grapefruit to lend fresh citrus essence to this barrel-aged sour. Bottled on December 18th, 2015. 1915, yeah. But very, very nice, solid beer. So another good beer, and it's almost sad to be drinking these beers and saying, oh, how good they are, and knowing that now you will be lining the pockets of the corporate empire if you patronize these beers. But, we've often said on the show there's two angles to this. A lot of us have said as long as the beer's good, we'd still buy it. And I know there's a lot of people, myself included, who still patronize Bourbon County when it comes out from Goose Island because it's a terrific beer. So,
yeah, I was going to bring up the point. What if Anheuser-Busch just lets them keep doing their thing? Like they're just helping with distribution and additional brew space. It's a what if. I mean, it's as someone who has had very minimal experience to this beer, I kind of like the idea that now I'm be able to reach me. I just hope they keep the quality up.
I think a big part of the problem a lot of people that support independent craft brewers have is that a lot of ABI's strategy is to basically push out all the shelf space from the little guys and leave a smaller slice of the pie for them. It's no secret that the independent craft brewers have been winning these last few years and taking market share from the big guys. So I think the big guys have now taken if you can't beat them, join them stance. And they're just, throwing big dollars out there to buy some of the better crafts. Now you can go into a chain store and say, you don't need to buy from, 15 different suppliers to get your beer. We have 10 quality craft breweries under our umbrella. And they can expand all the shelf space and leave very little for the local independent guys. And one more point I'd like to make before we finally allow Ross to introduce a beer is the ingredient factor. And, ABI recently bought SAB Miller in a global buyout, and there was a hop farm in South Africa that had special hops only indigenous to that region of the world. And they took ownership of those hop farms, and now they are shutting out the supply to independent craft brewers and keeping it all for themselves. So that's their right to do it. They own the hop farm, but it's certainly ruffling even more feathers within the craft beer community. So there's just another angle on, the big guys really, they're throwing a lot of clout around, and they're making it more and more difficult for the smaller guys to succeed. So that's where your problems come in, where the little guys, it's like a David and Goliath battle here. And, David has been doing very well against Goliath up to this point, but now Goliath's really starting to, with these buyouts and, that hop farm story. There's just a couple examples of how they're punching back.
So I would say keep in mind, they're not just punching back by doing stuff within the law, right? They've been getting fined several $100,000 for playing illegally to push small guys out, right? So
yeah, they've been caught with incentive programs that are against antitrust. And actually, when they approved the SAB Miller buyout, that was one of the conditions that the SEC imposed is, no more incentives to wholesalers. So if they violate that, maybe the SEC, I don't know if there's any recourse to go back and undo things. Probably not. But like you said, hefty fines aren't going to bother them. They have, deep pockets. So, yeah, it's a tough time.
What I find really interesting about this strategy, though, is, okay, you're the big guy, and you're buying these guys. I mean, are the brewers coming along? Do we know that with them? In Goose Island's situation, Greg Hall is still on the board of directors of Goose Island. He's still there. He oversees, pretty much what would be the recipes. Wicked Weeds brewers coming on like that. But I think what really happens when these sort of buyouts go is the creativity for new, trailblazing, forward-thinking beers is lost. It becomes sort of like you're buying an artist's back catalog, or you're buying a painting that's already been painted, waiting for it to go up in value, as in the case with the beer would be, increased distribution, more people buy the product, profit on the product. But, then the artistry seems to stop. In Goose Island's case, there's been some new variants. They've reconfigured some beers, but for the most part, what's new from them? Really, that you can think of. Very similar with Elysian. Yeah, now I can get Space Dust, but what about the new stuff? What about the brewery stuff? The things that you had to go to the brewery to get? You could only get a growler of it. It's a brewery-only release. All that stuff seems to go away when these things happen.
That's a good point. I do. I would like to mention I did see something new from Goose Island very recently. It's something called the Cooper Project. I believe it was a barrel-aged Scotch ale. I haven't had it yet, but I saw some stuff online about it. But yeah, for the most part, very little innovation with a lot of these breweries once they're purchased.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was something you posted, JR, or something I just randomly clicked to, but it was an interesting article talking about scaling up production of like Honker's Ale and a couple of the other staples, and it was kind of depressing in the fact that they basically said as they were scaling, because they had to change the way they make it to use the facilities that they were producing in and the quantities that they were going to produce it now, and they basically eventually got to the point where they said, we poured enough beer away because it didn't, in experimenting, trying to figure out how to scale up production on that stuff. And now it's close enough, right? So it was close enough. It wasn't what it was before, but it was as far as AB InBev was concerned, it was close enough. And you worry about that. That's why I said the things that they'd possibly try to scale up for Wicked Weed, some of the staples are Pernicious and Freak. They're really good IPAs. Not that I'm a big IPA fan, but I know from my friends and people when I go visit places, that's one of the things they want me to bring. And that seems like where they would start. That's something that they, a basic IPA as opposed to a sour would be something that they could try to scale up, and you just wonder what's going to happen to it.
Well, they're always going to be looking at the bottom line and trying to, cut corners to produce a more profitable product, and probably at the expense of quality. One example I recall distinctly is when they started brewing Budweiser. After they bought Budweiser, the long-standing hop farm in Germany that had made all their Hallertauer hops, they immediately terminated the contract with the hop supplier for many decades. Going back that the Budweiser was used in making of Budweiser. So they told that family that had all their hops going to Anheuser-Busch for all those years, we don't need your hops anymore. So where are they getting the hops? They're obviously not going to be as high quality. Admittedly, I haven't had a Budweiser in a long, long time, so I don't have any idea what that did to the flavor, but I'm pretty sure that it's probably, another cost-cutting measure that probably impacted the quality of the beer.
I don't know, guys. I'm getting thirsty here. Who's next?
Okay. Sorry.
Yep. I think we're back to Chris now.
I never did the milk and cookies.
Oh, never mind. You haven't done your beer yet.
Yeah, I think it's my first one here. Yeah,
Well,
so I've actually been enjoying a little bit of it as we were talking, but pour a little more in here. So Milk and Cookies is I'll read the little flavor text on the side first. Milk and Cookies Stout transports us to our childhood kitchens, where freshly baked cinnamon raisin cookies warmed us against winter winds and familiar grandparent voices permeated the sounds of the night. Hints of cold milk, sweet vanilla, and hearty oatmeal comfort and remind us that our memories are forever led by our senses. In this case, we are led home. So it's a 8.5% stout they've made. This was actually one of the first Wicked Weed things that I had. It was on draft at a bottle shop I was in Greensboro a couple of years ago, and it was one of the first Wicked Weed products that I actually had. It's one of my favorites. It actually, if you can imagine drinking a cinnamon raisin cookie, that's what it tastes like. So it's like an oatmeal raisin cookie. It's flavored with cinnamon. That's what it tastes like. I'm not a big cinnamon fan, but there's not enough in here. It's not overpowering or anything. So the beer itself is it's a very pretty dark brown, not a lot of head and not a lot of carbonation. It smells like that description. It's definitely the spiciness comes through from the cinnamon, not overpowering, but it's there. You get a little vanilla and the raisins there as well. Like I said, it's not too cinnamony. The taste is, the taste is like you're having just like a little oatmeal raisin cookie. If you like that, it's kind of desserty, and it's they make it in the winter. This usually comes out in early to mid-November, and it's a nice beer for having sitting around when it's a little bit cold outside, and maybe you can get near a fireplace or something. It's not too heavy. The people that complain about are people who don't like too heavy of a stout can get into this. It's very lightly carbonated. It might be a tad thin for the feel for me. I'm used to a little thicker stouts, but the taste is awesome and the smell is awesome and it works really well together. A little creamy feel to it as you're drinking it. On a sad note, I don't have any of the barrel aged of this. This year's batch didn't turn out very well and they poured the whole thing out. So there was a sad note on Wicked Weed in early to late December, I guess, where the barrel age just didn't meet their standards as they were testing it along the way, and so we didn't get any BA of that this year. It's a very enjoyable beer. I used to look forward to getting it every year, and this is one of the things that I'll really miss from them.
So I guess it's safe to say that you are jumping off the bandwagon.
Yeah, for me, it's been a little rough because, like you, I'll buy BCBS when it comes out, but after I looked at what Wicked Weed did, and I look at the things that the Wicked Weed guys said up to this point, this was definitely hypocritical based on things they've said in the past. Actions they've taken, talking about sticking it to the man and being the ones that fight back. You can go through any of their interviews leading up until the last 6 months, and it's either all a bunch of lies or they changed their minds over a pile of money. I don't know. I mean, they're the only ones that can really tell that story. But yeah, I decided that I'm certainly not going to buy any more for me. If I have friends who want it or whatever, I'm perfectly willing to bring it to them if it's a beer that they want. But I'm not going to do that, and I kind of made the decision that I'm not buying BCBS anymore. So I felt I was going to be hypocritical if I kept buying that when I decided not to buy Wicked Weed anymore. And so it hurts. But I'm going to miss their product. But we've got other places trying to step in and fill their shoes. So the one article that really hit home for me when you talk about Wicked Weed, AB InBev and their legality, go back to the fines that they're paying for the pay-to-play stuff that they've been doing. I don't know if anybody took a look at what they're doing in China and the craft beer market in China. China doesn't have laws that protect the little guy the way the United States does as far as antitrust things. So if you go look at what AB InBev is doing in China, it's really, it's disgusting. They're basically just buying the bars and buying the distributors and shutting down the local craft breweries and not giving them any place to sell their beer. And it's really disgusting. And so I'm not going to support them. And they can get away with it because the Chinese don't really have any laws against it. And what's even worse is AB InBev can bring in product in China that the Chinese brewers wouldn't even be allowed to make because the Chinese have very strict regulations on their own brews. So they can't make like a cloudy IPA, for instance, because of their filtering laws. But they are allowed to import that. The imported beers don't have the same regulations against them. So they're going to be taking a lot of their high-end product and using it. Does this really affect the United States market? No, but craft beer is made all over the world, and they're actively killing craft brew everywhere. And China, they're able to do it legally. They're not paying fines for the stuff they're doing in China. They're just doing it. So,
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a little emotional over it because I'm really sad that Wicked Weed sold out to these guys because I'm just not going to be purchasing from them anymore. The stuff I have is, I haven't bought anything from Wicked Weed since they made the announcement. I'm just going through the stock that I have and enjoying what I have, and that'll be it.
Well, that's why we're having this wake. It says it's the end of the world as we know it. Sound clip for you, Chris. Speaking of Chris, I think now you are finally up, so you may introduce our next beer.
Yes, and it's a beer after my own heart. It's an Imperial Coffee Stout, El Paraiso. Ale brewed with coffee and cocoa nibs. I also failed to mention on my last beer, way back at the beginning, 8.5 ABV. And 100% delicious. All right, so El Paraiso, what's the bottle say here? Under cold winter skies, we dream of warm summer paradise of far off, floating islands where the awakening scents of roasted coffee and husked cocoa nibs restore our work-worn souls. From our first sunrise sip of coffee to our last sunset sip of beer, El Paraiso is the muse of our work and our rest. Our ode to every brewer's belief that it takes a lot of good coffee to make great beer. 9.5 ABV. I told you it's getting bigger. It's a big beer night for me. Oh wow, this was bottled in 2017. So this is all right. Looking forward to drinking this. In the glass, it's your classic stout. It's super dark, nice thick, creamy head. Wow, rarely do you smell the coffee and the cocoa at the same time. But on this one, it's coffee right away, but then the sweetness of the cocoa kind of comes in at the end. Ooh, wow. Thicker mouthfeel, and wow, yeah. If you love coffee, oh my God, I'm gonna take another sip of this. Man, it's hoppy at the beginning, and then right at the end, the coffee kicks in. I don't know what the hell kind of coffee they use, but I want to find out. Wow, this is great. Good job, Wicked Weed. Man, I'm just finding out about all these things. What the hell?
Yeah, some great beers, and now they're dead to us. But
I'm going to add them with adjunct, possibly more water.
Well, that's not necessarily true. They may back off and let the brewers make the beers as they have been. But you wonder. There's no guarantee of that. And frankly, with all the other issues with them trying to stomp out the little guy, that's what's chasing a lot of consumers away. And it's hard for me to justify buying these products. The only scenario I can see where I might suck it up and buy one is, I know when you go to stadiums and, you got like very few choices or certain venues that are pay to play to get in, like, I know, for example, the Little Caesars Arena that's being built in Detroit. a bunch of the little guys bid on, the craft part of, getting in the stadium, and they were all rebuffed because they wanted these, ridiculous amounts of money to get beer distribution in the stadium. It truly is pay for play, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But if I were at like a venue like that, and because of AB's clout, they had some of these quality beers, I might find myself in a situation where I'd be like, well, there's no way I can drink a Labatt's or I shouldn't badmouth Labatt's. They're North American breweries, but there's no way I would have a Bud Light, a Coors Light, a Miller Light. But, if they had one of these available, I might be tempted. But then there's that guilt factor that you're lining the pockets of those that are doing ill will to the industry. So, I don't know. We'll see. I have to admit, I bought Goose Island. I bought Bourbon County Stout last year. Maybe it'll be heavier on my conscience this year. But I'd like to say that I am following up Chris's beer because I have the barrel-aged version of El Paraiso. So I just poured myself a glass of that after cleansing my palate with some water from that wonderful sour I just had.
It's a smaller bottle.
It's a smaller bottle, but it's tasting pretty good to me. I get a lot of chocolate on the aroma, almost like fudge. It's a really dark, muddy, black color. There's actually a fair amount of head on this. It doesn't dissipate completely, so there's a little carbonation, more than normal, I would say. But I'm smelling coffee and chocolate predominantly. So I'm going to take a sip. Oh, yeah. You start out with the chocolate. I'm getting a little bit of spice, maybe like a black pepper spice. But then you go from chocolate to coffee, and then you get a little booziness in there. The bourbon's definitely a nice addition, and you get a little bit of like bittersweet chocolate on the finish. It's really very, very good, and I'm really surprised that most of these styles beers don't have much carbonation. This one's pretty fizzy, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different than most other stouts, but it's solid. It's really good, and gonna miss these guys a little bit. But yeah, you're allowed to get sad at a wake, right?
This was the first year that they bottled the barrel aged. We could get it on draft the last couple of years, but this was the first year that they bottled it. So
I like it because there's not too much of anything. It's not too boozy. It's not too chocolatey. It's not too much coffee. It's they've really balanced those three predominant flavors nicely, which that's what they do. They make great beer. It's sad to see them get gobbled up. So cheers, everybody.
Yeah,
Started
cheers.
A little bit melancholy, but good beers that we will no longer probably want to purchase.
And make no mistake about it, I've got a year's worth of Wicked Weed at least in my collection. It's going to take me that long to get through it. I've got plenty of dark age, and I've got more of the barrel aged French toast and El Paraiso, and regular French toast and El Paraiso, and a couple of sours, some more bourbon barrel Oblivion and stuff like that. It's going to take me a while to get through it all.
Well, save some for when I come down for the Panthers game.
Will do.
Well, isn't Wicked Weed not the only thing AB InBev gobbled up this week? Or last week, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, they took a bite out of Rate Beer anyway.
Yeah, they purchased a minority interest, I believe, in Rate Beer, which is a big beer rating website that a lot of craft beer lovers track their beers and rate. The one that I predominantly use is Beer Advocate, but a lot of people are now disassociating themselves from Rate Beer for the same reasons as they would disassociate from Wicked Weed, because now they are partially owned by AB InBev, which is really kind of asinine, because how are you supposed to maintain a independent rating system when your owner owns breweries? It's obviously they're going to maybe there's a fear that they could possibly manipulate the ratings.
In reality, you don't. it's already happened. I mean, I got my next beer up, which is Wicked Weed French Toast, and here's the disparity in the ratings at Rate Beer. It's at 93%, and at Beer Advocate, it's at a 4.1, which puts it just above 80%. So it's just nuts. So it's already happened. I mean, everybody's fears about them going in and manipulating scores based on readers' opinions has happened already. How do you have that much disparity? Is it because, all of a sudden the Bud guys are in there typing in great reviews, just like, restaurant employees at Yelp? Or is it just because everybody's pissed off that Wicked Weed sold out, so Beer Advocates slam them? So now you're not even getting a real read either way.
Well, the really shifty thing about them buying Rate Beer is the fact that it happened 9 months ago and they didn't freaking disclose it, right? So they bought them in October. I mean, they bought their share in October, and there was no announcement of it until I forget who was about to spill the beans. And the moment they knew that there was a web article going up that was going to spill the beans that there was a minority share, they had a press release to announce that there was a minority stake in there. So they weren't even going to disclose the fact that they bought that share until they had to. If there's anything else that can prove to you how shifty that was, that's it right there.
Snake in the grass.
They were high.
Yep. Let's go back to Sam from Dogfish Head's quote. Sam, I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name.
Well, he was obviously saying that
Sam came
sarcastic.
out. Yeah. Well, this week though, Sam came out to say to Rate Beer, everything's off the table. Remove every single reference to my beers in your site. And he sent them a cease and desist letter based on the buyout information that was disclosed this week.
And I've seen that several other brewers have requested the same, and their response is it's a public forum, and we're not removing anything. It's private citizens come on and post what they want, and they're refusing to comply with that request. So interesting to see whether legally they can force them not to have their product on there.
Yeah, it's probably doable from Dogfish Head's standpoint, but it's got to involve lawyers and courts and artistic copyrights. I mean, you can't just say things anymore. The copyright laws have changed big time. So if somebody wants it off your site, they can probably do it.
I think somebody else immediately followed up as well. Black Project, maybe. I forget who it was, but I saw another one that basically said us too after Sam did his thing.
Well, stay tuned for further developments, I guess.
So am I up next?
Yes, sir.
All right. So our next beer is called simply French Toast. It's an imperial stout brewed with cinnamon, vanilla, and maple syrup. It was bottled 12/20/16. It's 8.8%. And it is as dark as an imperial stout should be. And off the nose, you get a hint of the maple syrup. You get a hint of the vanilla as well. Maybe a little bit of chocolate. Just very faint on the nose of it. Pours pretty dark. With, I'd say kind of a tan head to it. Dissipates fairly quick on the head. Wow, I want French toast that tastes like that. Every day for breakfast, I want French toast that tastes like that. It is got a beautiful bitter chocolate bite to it. The cinnamon is in there, but it's subtle. It's not a cinnamon bomb whatsoever. Whatever they did with it, the concoction of this, it's beautiful. The vanilla mixes great with the chocolate, the maple syrup. I don't know that there's chocolate actually in there, but it does taste like it. It, man, this is off the charts. And I almost would be tempted if I saw this in the store to go, well, maybe just one. We don't have the luxury to buy this stuff here. So if it did show up, I might buy a couple bottles. Sorry, guys. It's that good, though. This kicks ass.
Here's a bit of trivia. That French Toast was the first beer JR specifically requested that I try to get for him.
It is a good one.
The others, I just kind of took pictures of things on shelves and said, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? But at some point, that was the first one. JR was like, hey, can you find me some French Toast?
Wasn't it in cans one year?
It's badass. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to a brewery in Western Michigan called Pigeon Hill, and I don't know if we did ever review this beer or not, which was called Your Mom on French Toast. Very identical makeup into the beer, but this is so much more subtle. Everything blends together so much more. I mean, not to take anything away from the other beer, but wow, this just nails it. It's a beautiful, beautiful beer. So, yeah, like I said, if I saw this, I'd probably have to buy one. I wouldn't fill a cellar with it. Wouldn't wait in line for a release from these guys anymore. I mean, that just becomes manufactured because, good God, it's AB InBev. They could do a zillion barrels of any given recipe if they wanted to. So to call something rare, and then it just becomes a fixed marketing ploy. So, yeah, if I saw it on the shelf, I'd buy it. I wouldn't wait in line to do it. If I saw it on tap, I'd probably get it. It's that good. This stuff's crazy good.
So here's a interesting side note. I was actually in Asheville last weekend. I was there for a release of a burial beer called Seasoned Skillet. Also, they released a double IPA called Paranormal Vibe. JR should have received some of those today.
I sure did.
And we stopped by the Funkatorium. I don't know what everybody knows about Asheville, but basically the South Slope is, Burial and the Funkatorium and the original Wicked Weed Brew Pub are all within 10 minutes walking distance of each other. There's seven or eight breweries just that are literally within a 5-minute walk of each other right there between Burial and Green Man and the Funkatorium, Highwire, Actual Brewing, Twin Leaf, Catawba. They're all basically, each city block has at least one brewery on it, right? So you just see them. And we stopped in the Funkatorium just to see what was going on. The crowd really didn't. I mean, it was a Saturday. It was 2 p.m, and the tables were full. So I don't, locally, I don't know what the feeling is about them. I don't know that it's not a lot more crowded than that, but I mean, the bar was full and the tables were full, and it was 2:30 p.m. on a Saturday. So I don't know how much their business has really been affected. Asheville's a huge tourist destination, beer-wise, obviously. So they're gonna get people coming in that are going to go there anyway, right? Because they're from somewhere else, and you got to visit the Funkatorium. So. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. It looked like from a strictly just we walked in and looked around and walked back out again without buying anything. Well, I didn't anyway. And it looked to be like the same as business as usual as far as the crowd size. So.
Well, I imagine a lot of people, mainstream people aren't is in tune to the news and know a lot about craft beer. They're kind of oblivious to what's happening.
I mean, that's the market they're shooting for now. Right? So they're going to have a name that people can look up and see online that has made good stuff, and it's going to be available in larger areas of the country. So that's the way they market it, right? I guess.
God bless them.
Yeah.
Dead to me.
Damn.
All right.
As
so-
you drink that beer, right? Salivating.
Oh,
over
yeah,
the next
no,
one.
hey,
you probably
they're-
already
they're-
cracked that one.
Which one?
Yeah,
Your next.
Oh no, I've been drinking since Chris introduced the El Paraiso. I did the barrel aged.
Well, of
You know,
course.
I've already
I've got the
kicked
barrel
that
aged.
one.
I've got the barrel aged French toast.
It's good
Yeah, so-
stuff.
So I guess the last beer for the show is Ross gets to give the final farewell to Wicked Weed with his barrel aged French toast, which is phenomenal.
I sent JR some bottles of this when it came out, and I remember seeing a check-in of it somewhere almost immediately. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any left.
he couldn't hold back. So the BA French toast. What am I going to say about it? I just cracked my bottle and poured it. It's got the smell. It's got all the same characteristics as the regular French toast. Only of course there's a little bourbony smell to it. Maple, definitely. Coffee, vanilla, tinge of cinnamon in there. The head dissipated pretty quick. Really creamy. A little thin again for what I would expect looking at it. But yeah, it's as JR knows, it's the French toast with a little bit of the bourbon kicking in. It ages well. I think this is a little heavier. I think this one's 10%. Oh, this is 8.8. I guess I don't know. I thought it was a little bit higher than the other one. What does it say? The scuttle of dried leaves blowing across the sidewalk, brisk, cool days filled with invigorating mountain air, the sweet, welcoming scent of French toast cooking in our family's kitchens. This is winter, and French Toast Imperial Stout is the perfect accompaniment to the season. This robust dark stout is finally complemented by zesty cinnamon, smooth vanilla, and the comforting sweetness of only the best maple syrup. Cheers to the season. Crap, you know what I did? I grabbed the wrong bottle.
What, did you have the regular French toast? Not the BA?
Apparently, shit, hold on. No, I have.
You might have to drink another one.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
I noticed all the stats as you were reading it on the bottle were identical to the ones
I grabbed the wrong one. I've got a cooler full of things here.
Chris can edit that out unless he would rather leave it in.
No. What I've got.
I think it's funny.
What I've got is 3 things open here because I've been sipping on things. Yeah. Well, anyway, I was actually drinking the regular. So this is what you get for doing this to me on Wednesday.
Well, a lot of people. It's summer. It's hard to get us.
So here's an interesting thing because this is. So I don't know if JR remembers this story. I actually ended up with a bunch of extra BA French toast because the bottles do look so similar. The only difference in them is little red barrel aged text on the label. And so as I was sitting here going through my stuff, I've grabbed the wrong one. But okay.
But yeah, I think you told me one time that you found them on the shelf for the barrel aged price.
I got them for the same price as the regular ones. Yeah. They stuck them on the shelf with the regulars, and I just pulled out the BA ones, and they only charged me for the regulars. Yeah,
but I'm sure there will be some when I come down for that Panthers Eagles game.
So yeah, that's me.
One.
That's me with extra beer to drink because now I've opened 3 of them. So
because those bottles have the asterisk next to them, they were pre-buyout.
Yeah,
so they're like you're not putting money into AB's coffers.
No, I haven't bought any since. Well, I will say this: I've got some on draft here because I know that the places that bought it already are selling out or getting rid of the stuff they already have in stock. And it's an interesting thing. One of our breweries, one of our bottle shops tap rooms had a tap takeover. 51 taps of Wicked Weed. They posted the event about 3 days before the buyout news. So they had a 3-day event where they're all 51 of their taps was all Wicked Weed stuff, and immediately that thread flooded with people making fun of it. Oh, 51 taps of Anheuser-Busch, and it was pretty depressing to see. But yeah, we've the places around here. I would say the small bottle shops are definitely not stocking as much stuff as they used to. And it is what it is. I've got my supply, and I'm not buying anymore.
Yep, I think I'm there with you. I've always said, hey, I might want to work for these guys someday, but it's really becoming more and more difficult for me to rationalize supporting a company that's doing damage to small craft independent brewers. So I'm never going to say never, but man, I'm sure drinking a good beer right now, and it really does feel like a wake, because I'm not going to feel comfortable buying these beers anymore, as good as they are. It's kind of like eating the forbidden fruit, so to speak. So rest in peace, Wicked Weed. God bless you. Do what you got to do, but you won't be getting my hard-earned dollars anymore.
Got 3 different bottles to finish now. Crap. Okay.
But as for the asterisk bottles, purchased before the buyout, open game.
And I gave you a couple.
That's what we're going with.
Of those in the shipment, right?
Excuse me?
I think you got a couple in the box I just sent.
I actually haven't even had time to open the box. Probably when we sign off, I'll dive into it. Had youth baseball tonight and came home, had to do a little bit of yard work, and then right into the podcast. But it's like every time Ross sends me a box, Christmas morning all over again. So thank you. Look forward to popping it open. I know there's one thing I wanted to kind of end the episode with is wanted to ask you were talking about how other breweries are stepping up and filling the void. I mean, let's not write off North Carolina. There's plenty of great breweries down there that make great beers. And I know that you just went to a release, and that's some of the stuff that you sent me in that box. So why don't you tell us about breweries that you do plan to support and that are cranking out great brews down there?
Well, first and foremost, Burial is putting out good stuff all the time. They collaborate a lot. They've actually do a fair amount of collaborations with Avery in Colorado. And I just went there for a release for their seasoned skillet, which is their donut. They have a donut skillet stout, and they have a couple different varieties of it that they release this time of year for Donut Day, which was last week. And they actually did 6 different varieties of it paired with donuts on Thursday, which I couldn't get out there for. But the seasoned skillet is the only one of them of the 6 varieties that they bottled. And so we went out for that release, and they still had the baklava version and the blueberry version on draft Saturday when we got there, so that was fun. So Burial is one of the big ones that we support now. As far as sours, Green Man was big for a while, but their head sour guy left about a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years now, and he opened his own brewery called Zebulon Brewery, or Zebulon Ales, and they're really good. If we're talking about replacing Wicked Weed as sours, who's going to do that? Another really good one here local to me is Barrel Culture Blending and Brewing. They're not bottling a whole lot yet, but the stuff they make is really good. And who else? Bond Brothers in Cary. They're a new one that's opened in the last couple of years. They're knocking it out with various sours that they're making as well. So the sour craze, kicked off a couple of years ago, and while Wicked Weed was, kind of the big name on the map here, a lot of the other places are stepping up and making good product, and maybe you'll start seeing some of that out of state a little more often as I shift the kinds of things that I'm buying for myself. And normally what I do is I see something that I think JR might want. I'll take a picture and a lot of times that's been Wicked Weed things, but I'll start taking pictures of other stuff and asking him what he wants, and we'll get different North Carolina breweries out there.
But we appreciate that, and I'll be certain to pass those on to the other beer nuts as well as I have with some of the beers we had today. I think all came from you, so thanks for keeping that pipeline open.
Yeah, the thing about Wicked Weed was they just happened to be the biggest. They were making the most. Obviously, they had the biggest facilities as far as producing sours. But some of these other guys they're going to be catching up, soon, and we'll see. They're making good stuff now in smaller batches, and when they get to the point where they can make more, we'll see what happens. But for right now, I would definitely, if I was going to pick a few, I'd say Zebulon and Barrel Culture and maybe Ron Brothers. Fauna Flora, maybe. You know how it is in the brewing industry. The brewers move around a bit.
Well, as they say, when one door closes, several others open. So plenty of opportunity out there for the rest of North Carolina brewers. So, Doug, Chris, any closing comments before we wrap it up?
Well, sure. I'll add a little bit. We call this episode The Wake and the Death, and but on the other hand, there's no right or wrong, and that's our mantra of the podcast. So, don't take our word for it. We're just a little frustrated and pissed off that somebody with so much going for them would just kind of do the shit deal. Like, come on. It wasn't that they needed the money. I don't know.
Maybe one of the owners has some kind of crazy gambling debt.
Yeah,
it could be. I mean...
Well, so one bit of extra information there was some word that there was at least one other investor looking to purchase, but the AB InBev offer was like twice as much. So they came in, guns blazing. We're going to get it. So.
Well, and here's the other thing. For every action, there's a reaction, so you can react to it however you want. The beer community is certainly in an uproar about it, and as they should be. They should be extremely annoyed by it, but maybe that reaction is, sour guy left, so that sour beer is going to be available somewhere. He's going to be able to create that. That's his creation. They're not going to be able to do that, so they're not going to have all the stable that Wicked Weed actually had. Did they do it just like you mentioned before? Their main brands, like Pernicious, and is it all for that? Because man, if they're thinking in that regard, those types of beers get lost in a crowd very easily, and especially if you don't have a local support, you don't have an army behind you saying what great stuff this is. A lot of people walk away from it. So I don't know. I mean, good luck to them. I mean, it's just going to be a shell of what it was in many regards, in my opinion.
Well, as we say, God bless them.
Good luck. Wicked Weed, I hardly knew you. I don't know. They might still get a couple of my bucks just so I could try that French toast beer. Now I know I'll never be trying the ultimate original, actually made with care French toast beer, but still.
I've still got bottles I can send them.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Asterisk bottles, we're going to call them.
Yeah, everybody drink local. Otherwise, the big boys will just come up and buy your guys out. All right, isn't it? That's the lesson we're taking away from this week. Support your local brewery. Support your favorite local brewery. Give them enough money so they don't have to do this. All right.
Amen.
But thank you. Yeah, and thanks everyone who's been downloading and been sharing us with your friends, telling people about us, following us at Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter, at Beer Nuts Podcast on Instagram, and you can email the show, beernutspodcast@christophermedia.net. With that being said, we'll stay on the Atlantic Ocean, but we'll head from North Carolina down to Mexico.
As they say in old Mexico City, AMF.
AMF.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
This weekend, get to Kohl's and take an extra 15% off. Save on tech gear for the family, now just $15.29 and under. The Ninja Foodie Indoor Grill is $279.99. And find denim everyone in the family will love for $18.69 and under. Plus, get a little more for your wallet with Kohl's Cash. Plus, fast and free store pickup. Shop Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles, 15% offer, valid January 14th through January 18th with promo code SNOWMAN. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Make room for a brand new year and a brand new room. Cozy up with HomeDepot.com for up to 30% off select mattresses and mattress essentials. From pillow top to plush, medium firm to memory foam. Waking up to a wonderful new mattress is the perfect way to make your new bed and your new year. Up to 30% off select mattresses and mattress essentials from HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done. Online only, free delivery on select items $45 or more. Visit HomeDepot.com for more information.